All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to the calorie cycling method, which is basically how to eat what you want and lose weight for good without sacrificing your social life. Essentially, this is the most sustainable way and most flexible way of approaching nutrition that I found to work really well with so many clients over the years. So this is something I really am very excited to share with you all. Yeah. So you're in the right place if you are sick and tired of fat diets, that restrict you from your favorite foods. If you are wanting to start losing weight, you're not sure how to do it right. If you're stuck in a weight loss plateau and you need to get the scale moving, if you're already following a nutrition plan, but you're curious if you are doing correctly, and you want to build a better relationship with food, then stop feeling guilty about eating so-called bad foods. And I put it in inverted commas because it's super important to know there are no good foods, there are no bad foods, okay? So in this workshop, what we're going to do is we are going to go through a few things. First thing is what the calorie cycling method is and what it isn't. And then we'll talk about why it's beneficial for the long-term weight loss. And then I'm going to go through the various types of calorie cycling formats that you can use. Okay, and then I'll go through also which calorie cycling format to use so that it will best fit your lifestyle, like the pros and cons. And we will also go through the 3-step process, essentially, to setting up your own plan. So you can take notes and you can try to work it out as we go through it. But again, I'll be sending over the replay so you can do it on your own time as well. And then which supplements are actually worth your money and can possibly benefit you. Yeah, so here is the main problem, right? A lot of times, most people think that, when you count calories, you need to stick to a specific target every single day. And this is usually in the form of stuff like, fixed meal plans or having to eat clean and all these kind of, weird things that people are convinced that you need to do, right? And then most people also believe that it's impossible to have a social life when you're dieting because of daily caloric restriction. And so most people also panic when they see the scale weight, their weighing scale, go up after a big social meal, because they think, that has destroyed all their progress. And so the issue with all of these things is that it's actually not true. And with calorie cycling, you kind of solve all of these issues and you get to build a much better understanding of how things actually work. And so here's the best way to maximize this workshop. First thing is I want you to take down any questions you may have so that we can answer them at the end of this presentation. So I think there's this thing called, let me see. Okay, you can see there's this like slides thing at the top here. Wait, let me see how this works. I'm going to, oh, cool. Okay, so you can actually ask your questions in there. So I'm going to put this into the chat. Oops, no, sorry, that's not the correct one. Let me delete that. I think it's this thing. There you go. Okay, cool. So I put it in the chat. You can just put in a question there and then I'll be able to see it on my side when you answer any questions. Okay, so just keep that tab open. If at any point you have questions, just feel free to type it in and I'll get to it at the end of the presentation. So the other thing is kind of turn off all distractions, kind of give as much of your attention as you can. But I know some of you might be doing other stuff as well, especially if you have kids, you might be tending to them. That's perfectly fine. And of course, have an open mind, right? Because a lot of these things that we might be talking about are going to be potentially different from what you might have heard or might have experienced before, especially if you are doing specific diets or you're maybe, subscribe to particular diet gurus. So I do think it's good to kind of approach it with an open mind and then ask all the questions that you need to. So for all of you who don't know me personally, this is who I am. I'm a fitness entrepreneur. My name is Twain. I own the current business here, Fit for Life, but I've had multiple fitness businesses. I've been a coach for over 15 years. And at this point, I have had over 500 one-to-one clients and counting, so not including seminars and, kind of corporate presentations, things like this. I'm also life coaching certified, and I'm actually a nerd at heart. I'm a huge comic fan. I love all these kind of like geeky things, I suppose. And I love numbers. I love all the science behind everything. So I guess I'm in the right job. So if you all saw the sign-up sheet as well, you have seen that I actually promised 2 extra bonuses, which I will share with you at the end of the presentation. So if you stay with me to the end, then that's what we will do. We'll kind of have those two bonuses. I'll share with you what they are. But in case you are not up to date, you actually already get two bonuses right now, which is basically I'm going to send you this calorie cycling guide tomorrow, together with the replay. And basically you contain everything we went through today, plus some additional video breakdowns. So you have additional information there as well to, refresh this information, because whatever you learn here today is obviously not going to be like, you're not going to remember everything, right? You need to have some reference point to kind of look through it again. The other bonus is we're going to be a strength training workout guide. Basically, this is kind of a strength training workout guide that's quick and effective strength training workouts that can kind of give you a kickstart, especially if you don't really have any sort of plan at the moment. If you already have a plan and you're training with weights and all this, by all means, go and do that. But this is just a good way for you to kind of get introduced to it if you're not doing anything. There are 3-day or 4-day options. There'll be gym and home workout options. All right. So this is kind of like a little thank you for coming in here, for supporting the workshop and just for registering and taking part. So let us begin. Oh, so much preamble. Let us begin. Let's start off with the most important question here. What is calorie cycling? And so calorie cycling essentially is some days you're going to eat higher calories, and some days you're going to have lower calories. So essentially that is what our day-to-day lives are like, right? And the cool thing about this is that calorie cycling is built upon the fundamental principles of nutrition, and that is the base layer of calorie balance. Calorie balance is the main thing you need to focus on, that will contribute to weight loss or weight management. And so in that sense, calorie cycling is not a diet. Okay, it is not a diet. The key difference here is that it's the principles that matter the most. And because diets don't tell you how to maintain things after. And if you do not understand like why things are working the way they're working properly, then it's very hard for you to actually sustain any kind of change that you're going to have. Okay, so knowing the principles that underlie and underwrite this calorie cycling method will actually allow you to then figure out how to modify things according to your specific goals, whether you're trying to lose weight, whether you're trying to maintain your weight, whether you're trying to even gain some muscle, gain some weight as well. Okay, and most importantly is to allow you to fit it into your lifestyle. So why is this so beneficial? This is because when you understand how to undulate your calories according to your lifestyle, it actually allows for the best balance between being very strict while maintaining flexibility for real life. And look, your calorie needs are going to fluctuate on a day-to-day basis anyway. Okay, some days you're going to eat more, some days you're going to eat less. That's just the way it works. And your body's going to burn different amounts of calories day to day as well. And so it helps you build a better relationship with food, because it allows you to then, figure out a structure that works for you and allows you to incorporate your favorite foods at the right times. All right, so some of the most key questions people tend to ask is, okay, cool. So when should I eat the higher calories? And there are definitely various formats, which I'm going to go through later. But sometimes people might say, hey, should I eat more calories on the workout days? The days where I go and exercise. Yeah. Or should I eat more calories on the weekends? And so all of these are actually great options. And there's like a bunch of different ways you can kind of structure things. But there are generally 3 most common ways that I have used with many, many clients over the years that I found to be like the most useful, the most common, the easiest to follow. And those are the 3 ones I'm going to go through later, okay? But first, the most important thing to understand here, first of all, is how many calories do I actually need for fat loss? So the idea here is we need to understand what is our target calorie amount that we want to have on a daily average basis. And then we'll be able to start playing around with how do we make some days higher and how do we make some days lower from this baseline. So we need to know how to calculate how many calories we need for fat loss. And the easiest way to do that, right? How many calories do you actually need to eat? Is to take your goal body weight and multiply it by 23. I know this equation sounds ridiculously, stupidly simple, but the truth is there's so many different equations to calculate your calorie count. You have the Harris-Benedict, you have, Mifflin-St. Jean, you have even some of the Navy calculations. But the truth is that all of these are just best guesses, and they generally regress back to the same types of numbers, around the same, for the same weight, roughly you're going to eat around that same starting point. And so what I've realized is that, after looking at all the data, when we regress it down to this equation, you just take what is the weight that you want to achieve, and you multiply it by 23, okay? So what is the goal body weight exactly? Okay, again, it's the weight that you want to achieve. So let's say if you are 80 kilos and you want to, you want to achieve 60 kilos, you want to lose 20 kilos, you just take 60 kilos and multiply it by 23. Okay, so it's really, really simple in that sense. However, here's a little caveat. I would recommend that you, in order to ensure that you don't, be too aggressive with your deficit at the start, what you can do is you can just take a 10% off from where you currently are. Okay, so there's a starting guide, 10% off from where you currently are, and then use that and multiply that by 23. So another example is if you are 100 kilos, then you might use 90 kilos and multiply that by 23. So why do we use a goal body weight? The main reason why we use a goal body weight is because it's simple. Like pretty much it's simple. It's easy to choose. It's very simple for you to choose, and it makes things so much easier. So how do you decide on the goal body weight? As I mentioned already, I would suggest taking 10% off and then just going from there. Different people at different starting points can probably tolerate different levels of deficit. So let's say if you had a lot of excess fat to lose, you could probably get away with a much bigger deficit than you think. And it will actually be very motivating at the start if you start seeing a lot of weight go down. But sometimes if you are on the lower end of the scale, let's say if you're like 60 kilos or you're 70 kilos, you might want to take a smaller deficit and maybe do it in steps. Regardless, it doesn't really matter in that sense. Just choose one and use that to calculate your starting calories, and then you can work from there. Okay, so aside from the calories, there's one other very important thing here, is protein. All right, so protein is probably the most important nutrient for weight loss. So we know how many calories we have, and that's the calorie balance part. And we know how much we need to eat in order to lose weight. But how much protein should you eat? Okay, and why do we want to eat protein? Because protein is the key ingredient and the resource in our body that will help our body repair and recover really easily. And so if we don't have enough protein, our body doesn't have enough resources to kind of rebuild all the lean tissue in our body. And when I say lean tissue, I don't just mean like muscle, because everybody thinks that I eat protein because we want to build more muscle. No, that muscle is just one of the lean tissues in the body that, protein services. And there's like organs, there's all your viscera, all this more important stuff. You don't build new brain cells, but yeah, all the different tissues, the bones, the tendons, structures, everything in your body is essentially comprised of protein. Okay, so protein is super important. And so how do you decide what number to hit? Basically, you take your goal body weight in kilos and you multiply it by 1.5. So this is the absolute lowest minimum amount of protein that you should be having. So let's say, give you an example. If you want to be 60 kilos, there will be a minimum of 90 grams of protein. Now, this is the minimum. In fact, if you can go higher than this, you probably will get a bit more results, or you'll be able to optimize the results a bit better. Okay, but there's obviously an upper limit. And so the upper limit is actually 2.2. Okay, so let's say for 60 kilos, I believe that's 60 times 2.2 will be 132. And so that will be the range of protein you want to hit. If you can hit 132 consistently, hey, that's great A effort. That's good, fantastic, But I think for most people starting out, getting that amount of protein in is really not easy. So go with the minimum and try to work your way up gradually. Okay, if you're not training as hard, this minimum will also be good enough, to give you most of the benefits for weight loss. And when I say training hard, I mean like you're not going to the gym, you're not doing any like resistance training, and you're just trying to diet down to lose weight, then this 1.5 should be good enough. But also take note that when you reach a certain point, if you're not training hard, then the amount of fat you're going to lose is actually going to be limited. All right. So with that being said, we now know calories, how to calculate our calories. We take our goal weight, multiply that by 23. How to calculate our protein? We take our goal weight, multiply that by 1.5. And so we have two targets already. But then sometimes people will ask, how about carbs and fats? Do I have to eat carbs and fats? Do I need to know how much carbs and fats to eat? And here is the answer. It doesn't matter as much, okay? Because as long as you focus on making sure that you get your protein in and you are hitting the calorie targets that you've set for yourself, then you can take the rest of the balance of the calories and then, fill it out with whatever else you want to, whatever ratio of carbs to fats you want to, okay? This will simplify things a lot more, and it makes it, less onerous to kind of try to pinpoint and get the exact amounts of food in. If you are very active though, okay, a little caveat here. If you are very active, let's say you take more than 5,000 steps a day, you're working out, at least 3 times a week, you're training hard in the gym, and you're also doing, a fair amount of cardio, then you might want to err on the side of eating more carbs and lower fats, okay? The main reason why is because if you are doing a lot of activity, your body will need a lot more fast and ready energy in order to perform well, in order to, live up to the performance that it needs to give. And so having a bit more carbs will really help with that. And in other aspects as well, it actually helps with the recovery process too, okay? But if you are not very active, then really it doesn't matter. Yeah, so if you fall below this threshold that I mentioned, you're not taking, more than 5,000 steps a day, you are not like training with weights in the gym, you're just doing some maybe like light Zumba classes or something of those nature, then you probably don't have to worry too much about this first. Okay, one step at a time. So coming back to this idea here, when do you eat the higher calories, right? I promise you all that we will go through the different formats. So they're going to be 3 different formats, very common formats that are usually used for calorie cycling. And they are the alternating format, they are the TGIF format, and they are the double fast format. So the alternating format is really simple. As the name suggests, you alternate high days and low days, or low days and high days, right? And usually I recommend, people alternate 3 higher days with 4 lower days. This is a more straightforward and easy way to kind of do it. And you can say, okay, today I'm going to eat a bit more calories, tomorrow I'm going to eat lesser, and you just repeat back and forth. Okay, and this one actually has the least, I would say the least strongest fluctuations. Okay, so you might fluctuate on a daily, but it falls within a pretty narrow range. So if you are particularly concerned with like extreme spikes, if you go out and eat, then potentially this will be the better option to take. So an example of how you would divide the calories would be, let's say if you calculated out your calories, we use the same 60 kilo example, right? So 60 kilos times 23, I believe is something like 1380. So I'll just round it down for this example. So 1,300 calories is your daily average you're trying to hit. You can do 1,005 on the higher days, and then you can do 1,001 on the lower days as well. All right, so as long as you're hitting roughly around that range on the higher and the lower days, then you're good. Now, this is the alternating format. How about the TGIF format? This one is actually the most common one that a lot of clients use. And you can see there are 2 different types here. Basically, it's anywhere between 4 to 5 low days straight throughout the weekdays, and then 2 to 3 high days over the weekend. In fact, I think I made a very small error here. In terms of the 2 days, most clients that I've coached seem to prefer to put the high days on the Friday and the Saturday, and then the Sunday can be a low day. I think that's generally like up to personal preference, but the idea here is that you're stringing the high days together and you're stringing the low days together. Okay, this is actually really like common, and it fits into most people's lifestyle, especially if you work a desk job, you work some sort of a 9 to 5 kind of deal. It really helps to follow this structure. Okay, the weekend you have more social events anyway, which most people will. So it does tend to lend itself very well to this. However, one caveat here, you can see at the bottom, I've capsed it all, is basically this is not a free-for-all. It means that on the higher days, you still have to eat within the calories that you have set for yourself. Okay, so using the previous example, you might be doing something like 1,001 from Monday to Thursday if you are trying to hit that 60 kilo mark. And then on the Friday to the Sunday, that's where you might bump it up to 1,005. So for this, what you expect with the weight fluctuation is that from the Monday to the Thursday, you see a really nice, almost intense drop down in the weight. You gain a lot of deficit there. And then on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, after you eat up a bit, you get a little bit of a weight spike coming up here. And then after that, you just repeat that. So over time, if you're eating in a deficit, if you're following your macros well, you will see your weight will be going down, but it will look something like this, then up a bit, and then go down slightly, then up a bit, and go down slightly. Okay, so as long as you are aware of what's going to happen, especially when we eat a bit more food, there's a bit more water fluctuation, then it's really easy to kind of stick to and see the bigger picture. So this is a TGI format. This is the most common one. A lot of my clients actually use this. Now, this last one here is a double fasting format. It actually doesn't really have to be double fast. It can be even just a single fast as well. But I think double fasting is probably the more common ones that people would do. And so this one is basically a type of intermittent fasting. You will pick 2 days where you basically fast for the whole day. Okay, so you just drink, pretty much just drink water throughout the whole day. Just fast for the 24 hours. And then you pick like from a start point to the end point where you fast. And this one is often used by people that need to travel a lot. So I have some clients that, they travel so frequently. Sometimes they're taking overnight flights, going to different time zones. They just like don't eat the entire time. Drink a lot of water, hydrate up, they just don't eat. And so it helps them to kind of like, they feel like it helps them reset to some degree. Obviously, not eating for an entire day is going to be a bit intense. Okay, so this is something I would definitely recommend, you approach with caution, but it's still common enough that I have had a decent amount of clients that actually use this format. It's particularly good for shift work as well, because a lot of clients that do shift work tend to be very busy anyway. And so they don't usually take too much breaks during their shift work. So example, I have one client who is a surgeon, and sometimes he has to do like crazy surgeries, I think it's a pancreatic surgeon. So he has to do crazy surgery, and he's in there in the operating theater maybe for like 12 hours or something, 10 to 12 hours, 8 hours, these kind of like long surgeries. And so it's like after you finish the surgery, he's like so tired, right? He just goes home, he just sleeps, he wakes up the next day, then that's it, like he has the whole day that he's fasted out already. So this can work quite well for some of these kind of circumstances. Yeah, but the reason why I don't particularly like this is because I feel fasting for 24 hours has some negative impact on this thing called protein synthesis. So basically, you are not going to optimize like the level of muscle growth and the amount of tissue growth that you can. So that's why I don't really like it. The amount of effect that it has, like in terms of preventing you from growing muscle, is probably not super significant. But I think it's significant enough that if you want to maximize things, it's probably not the best option. Yeah. So those are the 3 most common formats for calorie cycling. Now, I did promise I also talk about supplements, right? So supplementation, let's talk about supplementation. First of all, okay, how big is the supplement market? Do any of you here know? Yeah. If you know, you can actually write it in the chat. That's fine. But let me tell you, the supplement market is actually really huge. It's like $200 billion globally. And I think this was 2022's figure, and it's projected to grow even more. So the other cool part, or the worrying part, is that 30% of this is actually weight loss and management supplements. Yeah. So here's the truth about supplementation. Okay. Most of the supplements are going to be not worth your money. Like 100%, no matter what they tell you in the marketing and all this sort of funny stuff, it'll tell you, hey, this thing can burn your fat, or this thing is going to help you, I don't know, man, get rid of, like, melt your fats or whatever. Like, usually that's the kind of promise that it will make. But the thing is, most of these things are just not worth your money. Because supplements, they, by their name, by their nature, are just supplementation to what you're already doing. And they cannot replace the meat and potatoes of your diet, of what you're doing, your day-to-day healthy habits. They cannot make up for a lack of quality food and nutrients. They also cannot make up for a poor calorie and macro balance. Like, if you're overeating, then taking like one fat burner supplement is not going to make a difference at all if you're overeating. Okay, so obviously you want to take care of the main stuff first, but then then you can consider maybe, hey, some of these supplements I might have some use for. So again, most of the supplements that we take, especially those that are not very proven or not really researched, the results tend to come from a combination of placebo plus some sort of subconscious action alignment. And what is subconscious action alignment? It's basically where I'm so invested in this thing that I got that unconsciously I'm more particular and I clean up my act in other areas. So let's say if I take a supplement, and it promises me that I'm going to like burn fat and everything, and then I start to eat better. I start to be more mindful of, okay, how much protein am I taking in? And a lot of times supplements actually kind of are stacked this way, where they sell you one thing and they tell you, oh, you actually should get this other thing, you should get this other thing, and also in combination with a good diet, right? So in other words, the major meat of where you get the results is going to come from organizing your diet up. So very briefly here, Shane asks, do fat burners help when going under 10% body fat? To some degree it might. The leaner you get, the more significant some of these things do become. However, again, I would say fat burners, there's a whole wide range. It's not a regulated industry. You have to see what is in the fat burner itself, because most of the time, a lot of fat burners that are supposed to be like really, really intense, they end up being just like high in caffeine, and then they put some other green tea extract, some other random, stimulants in there, so that don't really have that much benefit beyond just like, drinking coffee or something. Okay, so again, at the end of the day, it's still going to come down to the way you manipulate your diet. The leaner you get, the more advanced, you will manipulate your diet, but the supplements themselves probably only give like a 1% difference. All right, so that's maybe at a competitive level of like bodybuilding or something, you might consider it. But otherwise, it's probably just a waste of money if you're just trying to get lean. Like 10% body fat, you don't need a fat burner. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the list of supplements that I find work, because there's only a handful of well-researched supplements that they have significant enough practical effects and applications that you can consider using them. Okay, so here's a list of supplements that work. First one is my favorite, protein powder. Okay, whey protein, or plant-based protein, both are fine. Different types of whey protein, whether it's isolate, whether it's the regular whey protein concentrate, whether it's just casein protein, all these are fine, perfectly fine. And the reason why protein powder is so awesome is because protein powder is essentially just protein. That's all. It's literally just protein. It's essentially food in a powder form. All right, there's nothing dangerous about it. There's nothing, there's nothing very dangerous about it or bad about it. In fact, it's probably one of the most bioavailable protein sources that you can take, which means number one, you digest it well. Number two, you actually assimilate the full amino acid profile into your body. So that's protein powder. Okay, very convenient to use as well. Now, multivitamins are also a great supplement to take. A multivitamin is essentially a smart insurance, health insurance. Okay, think of it that way, because odds are you don't really need it, but it's good to have it as a backup. Okay, you don't need to spend a fortune on this as well, because there's so many multivitamins that are sold that are relatively cheap. $20 you can get a decent bottle that can last you probably 2 to 3 months. And then the next one here is fish oil. So fish oil is, to my knowledge, fish oil is the single most researched supplement in the world. There's like a shit ton of data on it that supports its benefits. I mean, the biggest one is in helping you manage blood triglyceride levels, so bringing down the triglyceride levels in your blood, also improving your HDL cholesterol as well. There's so many benefits, a lot of heart health related benefits there. But that being said, if you already eat fish, 3 times a week or more, you're probably fine without it. But a little bit more probably will not hurt. Okay, except for in very specific like medical conditions where like you don't want the blood to be too viscous, I guess. But I digress. So the last one here is creatine. Okay, I'm sure many of you have heard of creatine, and there's this ongoing meme or this ongoing joke in the gym culture where they always say like, hey, creatine's like this magic supplement. It's going to make you super jacked. It's going to make you super strong. But the truth is, creatine is just this form of this supplement that when you take it, it saturates your body with your body's creatine stores, then allows you to then push for that little bit of extra energy, because creatine is just a component, a molecule that kind of forms one of the base energy units in the body. Okay, and it's one of the most researched supplements as well. If your goal is purely strength, it is definitely worth it. It is safe, it can significantly improve your strength. And in recent years or so, there has been a bit more research done on creatine and cognitive function. So they've seen that, hey, creatine actually increases cognitive function and processing as well. So it kind of keeps your brain healthy in that sense. So it's worthwhile to consider it. Most people, in terms of dosage, most people would be taking about 5 grams a day, unless you're maybe 100 kilos and above, maybe you might take 10 grams. All right. The only downside of creatine is that potentially for some people, creatine might give a little bit of bloating, a bit of stomach upset, and that's usually if you eat it on a very empty stomach, then that might not be a great option. The other thing is that when you take creatine, because it's so hydrophilic, it will absorb a lot of water, and so you might need to increase your intake. Otherwise, you might feel a bit crampy when you take it. But those are small things that are not dangerous at all. So yeah, it's definitely a really good supplement to take. So some people here are asking, Shane asks, I heard creatine helps with brain function as well. Yes, exactly. Yeah, it does. So supposedly it does help with cognitive function. And yeah, the aforementioned dosage will probably help. And then V asks, what about 𝗬𝗵𝗲? Oh, 𝗬𝗵𝗲 is a fantastic supplement as well. I should have put it in there. But yeah, 𝗬𝗵𝗲 is basically soluble fiber. If you have a chance, and here's a little quick hack and quick tip for you guys. I'm sure you all have seen this thing called 𝗵𝗲, right? Which is a very popular brand of like fiber supplementation that helps you have better digestion, better bowel movements, right? Basically, 𝗵𝗲 is 𝗬𝗵𝗲. So if you want to save on money, don't buy 𝗵𝗲. Just go and buy like your packet of powdered 𝗬𝗵𝗲 and then use that instead, because you're going to get so much bang for your buck that way. Okay, so that's a little quick tip for you there. The reason why you want to take 𝗬𝗵𝗲 is because fiber intake is super vital for health in general. Of course, you want to get majority of your fiber through your vegetables, through your fruits and your vegetables. But you can use 𝗬𝗵𝗲 to kind of top it up as well. Okay, so beyond this, okay, you might need to take maybe specific vitamin or mineral supplementation, but that's specific to your blood work and your, maybe any deficiencies you might have. This one, obviously, you would talk to your doctor, go and take your blood test, and then just check on this. I work with a lot of ladies that are about 40 plus to 55, around that range. And I think one of the most common deficiencies we usually see in the blood work tends to be vitamin D and obviously iron. Yeah, these two, and then vitamin B as well, third most common. So these are the ones that probably you can consider. Oh, Mar asks, wait, how about EAA and BCAAs? Oh, cool, this is a good one. So EAAs and BCAAs, for those of you who are not familiar with that, EAA stand for essential amino acids, BCAA stand for branch chain amino acids. Okay. So essential amino acids are amino acids that our body cannot produce on our own. Okay, there are about 23 types of amino acids, and then there are about 9 essential amino acids. I cannot remember every single one off the top of my head. It's all really long names. But basically, there's about 9 that, eight that we can't produce. So those are the essential amino acids. So you can actually supplement with them if you are not taking enough meat products. Okay, so if you happen to be more plant-based, and you take plant-based proteins and stuff, taking an essential amino acid supplement could be useful just to help to buffer that complete amino acid profile. The main reason why is because, look, amino acids, right, all the different types have different functions in the body. So it doesn't mean like protein means you build muscle. As I mentioned earlier, there's all these other things we need to rebuild, right? Our organs, our viscera, the tendons, the strength, whatever, all this stuff, hair and your nails, all these, right? So there are different types of amino acids that will attribute to all these different rebuilding processes. And so when you eat protein, if you get it from meat and all, we're going to get very complete amino acid profiles that then give our body this pool of resources to rebuild itself very completely. All right, but if you eat something like more plant protein, then you might miss out on some of these important amino acid points. And so then topping up with essential amino acids will be useful in that regard. Okay, if you're already eating a ton of meat or you're taking regular protein powder, then don't waste your time with essential amino acids. Okay, more doesn't mean better. Okay, just remember that more of this essential amino acid does not mean better. You want more complete amino acid profiles rather than these small fragment parts. Okay. Now, BCAAs essentially are redundant. And again, it goes back to that concept of that I just mentioned, where it's just a fragmented part of the whole amino acid profile. And what happens is you're just taking more of this particular amino acid profile, but your body needs like all the other component parts together to be able to facilitate, you know, that action that it needs to you know, to do. And BCAAs, they got so popular because yeah, Shane is right, EAA is better than BCAA. BCAA got so popular because BCAAs technically formed that chain where when they did the research, it showed that it was very important in like muscle synthesis, muscle growth and synthesis. So what they did, right, is they jumped on that research and then went to package it up into this thing, it's this supplement. Yeah, and then it just ends up being like, you know, everything's, oh, if I take more of this, I'm going to grow more muscle. But the truth is you won't. Okay, you won't. Yeah, it's redundant. Yeah, basically it's redundant. Okay, cool. So that's enough supplement talk for now. If you have any more questions on supplements, just drop them in the chat. I will answer them at the end. But here's an important note after going through everything on the different formats. First thing is when you do calorie cycling, especially the different formats, something like the double fast and all of these stuff, these methods are not suitable if you actually struggle with binge eating. All right. And it's very important to understand this because in the first place, if you have a poor relationship with food, it is not the basis from which you should be starting a fat loss or a weight loss journey, right? So if you need, if you are already feeling like this, this concept of like you're feeling very restricted or you're feeling like, you know, you have a lot of emotional eating issues, we need to solve that first. And we need to focus on the relationship with food before you can actually go onto a actual diet and like do it sustainably. Okay, so if you need to focus on a relationship with food, you can consider coaching of some sort. If you actually have a diagnosed eating disorder, definitely you would go off, you know, and work with a medical professional. However, in the program here, we do work with quite a few people who do have some tendencies for emotional eating, but it's not full blown on the metrics for to be diagnosed as a, you know, eating disorder. So some of these things are just, you know, relatively easy to kind of like, oh, I wouldn't say easy, sorry, relatively simple to undo, but you just need to know how to do it progressively, okay? So that's the important note, but here are more important notes, okay, to wrap up everything here. First thing is you want to do is if you are going to do calorie cycling, you want to make sure you track and you be strict for the first 28 days. Why 28 days? Well, because 4 weeks is probably a good enough time for you to really give it a good run, to understand like how it's working for you, and then from there you can decide, hey, maybe I should try a different format, maybe I should try to tailor it a bit more to my lifestyle. And then you can focus most importantly on the weekly average calorie number. So this is your target calories that you calculated out at the start, and this is a number you want to see your weekly average stay at. Okay, then the specific high and low days do not really matter as much. Okay, in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter as much as long as you're very consistent with it and you're staying within your targets, and your calorie target average is always kept within that range. And so you also want to make sure you measure your progress. And this doesn't mean just only on the weighing scale, okay? Because weighing scale is just one aspect. You also want to measure things like your waist measurement. Okay, you want to measure other elements, example like your body pictures as well. You can actually take visual pictures just to see your progress. Sometimes the scale's not going to move, but you'll see your waist will come down, you see your pictures, you start to see more definition, you start to see more lines, more details in your muscles, you know, all these cool stuff. And even though the weighing scale might not move, you're still making tons of progress. Okay, even things like seeing and feeling your difference in the clothes is also going to be very important as well. All right. One of the key things as well is if you're training in the gym and you are exercising, you know, your performance is going up. That's also massive progress. Then the last thing and the most important thing here is that consistency gets results. Okay, so you have to make sure that you stay consistent with it. You can't do it for 1 week and then be like, yeah, and then be like, you know, not like just conclude that it's not working for you and then just give up. Yeah. Okay, wait, Shane asks here, that's a bit dangerous. No, keep on having high days, telling yourself tomorrow I'll eat less than. Yes, exactly, Shane. Yeah, so that's the thing, right? If you fall into that category, then potentially you might be falling towards a tendency of like being a bit more emotional with your food. So again, that would be more like closer to a relationship with food issue that needs to be solved. However, if you do it correctly and you have fixed and chosen your format of what you want to do, example, most people use the TGIF format, which is basically Monday to Friday or Monday to Thursday. You go low, and then you have the weekend where you go higher, right? And you predict, right? You predict the amount of calories that you have the target of calories you're going to hit, and then you factor in, okay, on the weekends, I'm going to go out with family on Saturday. I'm going to go out with my friends on Sunday brunch. And you factor those in to the calories, then you can work around it very easily. It's going to be very unrealistic to tell people like, oh, you can eat whatever you want, right? No, sorry, you can eat everything that you want and still lose weight, because that's not real. That's not practical at all. But you can eat anything you want, you just can't have everything that you want. All right, so we have to choose. We have to be prudent in that sense. And the idea of calorie cycling is to then help you structure that out so that you can accept this is the format, and then you follow it. So you actually have a plan that is still flexible enough for you to work within. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. So before I forget, here are the extra bonuses that you will be getting as well. I'll be sending them over in your emails over the next few days. The first one is, because calorie cycling involves a lot of calorie tracking, you need to have a good understanding of how to track. One of the key things is that most people don't know how to track or estimate properly. So I'm going to give you this little MyFitnessPal tracking made simple bundle, which is basically a video training on how to estimate food when you eat out. I have this hawker food cheat sheet because most of you here are local, Southeast Asian kind of cuisine. And then I'll give you this MyFitnessPal guide so you know how to use MyFitnessPal to track your intake. Okay. So this is the first bonus that will really help you with that. And then the last bonus here is essentially a 30-minute coaching consultation. Basically, you can book this in with me, and then if you come up with your plan, I can help you audit your calorie cycling plan. But even more important is, if you are struggling with your own fitness and nutrition, we can actually uncover your main struggles, kind of figure out what the biggest issues are with regards to that. Now, very, very transparently, I obviously have a coaching program, and I do like to work with people that want to actually get better. So if it seems like we are fit, we would then go through the coaching options that are available. And then you can all book this in at this particular address. Don't worry, I'll send over on the replay. I'll send it in the emails with the replay and the follow-ups as well. So you'll receive it in your email inbox. So just a quick note on this coaching session. So who is this for? If you are stuck at a plateau for a while, you'll be considering getting professional help. This will be a great opportunity to kind of get like a whole gain clarity on your situation and what you need to do. If you're not looking for quick fixes, you're ready to kind of do the work, but you just don't know exactly what to do, this would be great as well. And therefore, if you resonated with any of my messages, if you like the process, everything that I mentioned, because it's not for everybody, right? Like sometimes people just want quick fix, and I can understand that as well. And like I said, who this isn't for, if you didn't resonate at all with my message, you finally disagree with anything I've said, then probably it's not going to work out. But if you're not learning or changing, if you're not open to learning or changing what's currently not working, this is probably also not going to work very well. And if you're just interested in a very quick way to lose weight right now, but not a real transformation for the long term, again, you are probably missing the forest for the trees. Yeah. So last thing is, why do I do this? It's good business. Essentially, it's good business to ensure we get good clients, because that just keeps the referral train running. It helps, it gives us good business. And also, I want you to understand that, quick fixes and like fancy fitness gimmicks are just going to slow you down. At the end of the day, every shiny object that you get distracted with is going to be either a learning point, which is good, but if you keep repeating that same mistake, then it's a bad thing, right? It's going to slow down your results. And then I want you to experience, the life-changing impact that fitness can have on your quality of life. Yeah. And I enjoy seeing my clients being completely transformed in and out. And I also want you to stop doing random things, okay, and focus on what works, because that will allow you to become a positive influence in your immediate circle. I see Priscilla on here. So Priscilla is a perfect example of that. Like Priscilla is a perfect example of somebody who has, focused and diligently like transformed herself. She has lost like 20 kilos already. She's still working. We're still working together. She's lost about 20 kilos already, close to 20 kilos. And she's consistently being this like leader in her community and really kind of just inspiring everybody else. Yeah. So if you work with us at Fit for Life, you know, we'll come up with the best plan for you so you can achieve success week to week. You'll experience massive personal growth while transforming your body, health, and fitness. And then you'll be held accountable to doing the work necessary. I or my coaches will kind of chase you to make sure you do what you need to do. And also you'll achieve very tangible results within the first month. Yeah. So all that to say, hey, book your call today, you know, so we can audit your plan, kind of find out where your weakest links are, uncover what's not working for you and why. And then if it seems like a fit, again, we go through coaching options. Yeah. So this is the link. If you want to take it down now, you can. But if there's any more questions, please feel free to drop them into the chat. Yeah, that's it. That's all for today. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the chat. If you really enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up, you know, just so I know that you all are listening and that you all took away something from this. I'm going to stop the recording here.